So, I also don't judge me when I tell you guys this. I don't like to share food. So, welcome back, you guys. I'm Tassie, and on today's Ghost Update vlog, I'm going to be answering some questions regarding communication and intuition, knowing when or how to believe in it and understanding communication. So, this is a really tough subject because honestly, the answer, it depends on the individual. And I could give you guys a bunch of examples for myself and how I receive communication. Now, all of this is subjective because it depends on the individual who is receiving the message. Now, the individual won't always understand the message, but it could be because the message wasn't meant for them. It is meant for them to relay it to someone else. So keep that in mind as I go through this. I'm going to talk about examples that I go through and how it gets deciphered, and this is really so you guys can get an understanding of how obscene it all is. And it's just really dependent on the individual and how they perceive the information and how they decipher it. Because individuals who get messages or intuition, it's on experience. And as you become more experienced and trying to figure out what these messages mean, will you understand what the message was supposed to be? Because me and another individual won't always see the exact same thing. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. And what ends up happening is we have to relay the information. So I have mentioned in other videos, I tend to sugarcoat things because people can't handle the truth. So I tend to sugarcoat it, but let's go on with this video and I'll try to explain it the best I can. So I'm going to talk about different ways that I receive messages because everybody won't receive all of the same messages that I do, and everybody will receive different ways of their communication from the spirit world. So for myself, I'm an individual who can hear voices, who can see things as far as visions or things right in front of me, and I have the feeling, which is what you would call intuition. So I also do okay, I don't anymore, but I used to. I used to do tarot cards. Some people will look at Hmong money and they will see all of these images and scenes. They can also read things off of the Hmong money. And when I say Hmong money, it's really just joss paper. And that's really what Asians tend to burn for their ancestors and spirits. And people use candles, people use flowers. So it's very, very dependent on the individual and how they receive information. So typically how I decipher stuff. So if somebody in general conversation is asking me something, I tend to use certain methods and I try to break it down. If the first message isn't clear, I break it down further and I break it down further. The clearest way is if you actually go to a person, specifically like a Hmong shaman or a shaman. I don't know if this applies to other shamans, but I know for sure for Hmong shamans, the reason why a lot of times I'll get messages, people will ask me things, and when it's something kind of serious, I always tell the individual you should seek out a practicing shaman, because what happens is if you come to a shaman and you beg them to help you and you tell them your questions or whatever, they will go to their shrine. And when they go to their shrine, they may enter the spirit world or they may stand in front of it. So when you do that, the message is a lot clearer, a lot clearer. For me, if I'm just sitting here and we're just generally we're having dinner, we're just having conversation, you ask me something, right? Something kind of shaman related, where it's kind of futuristic, even clarification on things, then I will get implications of things and then I will just decipher what I see or hear. And a lot of times those messages, I may not understand them, but it is a message meant for you. You understand? So typically if somebody is just asking me. So again, remember, the most clearest way is if you ask a shaman and they do it at their shrine. So that is when the message is very clear, they can see everything. So for myself, if I'm just sitting here and you ask me something, the first thing I always do is the voice. So I'll just ask them and then they'll give me an answer, right? If the answer doesn't make sense or if I can't really understand it, then I'll try to see into the future for whatever it is, because I'm trying to get a vision now, just to see what is this vision versus what they said to me. And then if that still doesn't work, then I'll have to use intuition, your gut instinct, basically. So the number one I don't like to do is the prophecies. And I have an uncanny knack for prophecies. I'm very good at them. But when I do prophecies, it's like something takes over me and I just keep saying all this stuff. And then when I'm done, I'm done. But my prophecies are always really uncanny accurate. And most of the times people forget about my prophecy until it happens. And then they're like, oh my God, Tassie already told me all this was going to happen. I just totally forgot it was going to happen. So I don't like to give prophecies a lot because they're never like good things. You can like, they're not like good things in general. So, all the prophecies I have done, they tended to be kind of like bad things happening to the individual. So, and prophecies, I feel like it wavers on changing someone's future and stuff like that. Because people who have that ability, if you change someone's future, it's very, very not good. So I was also asked before, why do people worship the devil? Essentially, or demons, right? And that is more so in how I see it as instant gratification. They'll get their wish, but they don't realize what they're giving up. It's the same thing as bargaining deals to change your future. Like you want to bring this loved person to you sooner, or you want to bring a specific loved person who wasn't supposed to be in your life, or you want to bring children into your life. You know, like people who get that done, they don't understand what they're giving up. Like you're asking for something that's actually really ridiculously small. And what's going to be taken is something major. So people don't realize that though. So that's why I'm not an advocate for people who want to change their future. Now, I have been asked this on more than one occasion. You'd be surprised. A lot of people will ask this. But I am never a person who agrees to do that because I don't want that on my conscience that, yeah, I'm going to bring it to you. You're going to be happy. You're going to be so excited. You finally got it. But you have no idea like what you're asking for. So I'll give you guys an example. People who want children, for example, when you want children, what ends up happening is that something major is going to get taken from that child's life. So yeah, you're going to be happy you have this child, right? But everybody in the world would want what's best for their child. But you don't realize that because you wanted that child so badly, they're going to take something major from that child's life. And then the child is going to have to live with that. So other people who want love interests brought to them, their true love interest will then be taken from them. The one that you were meant to actually be happy with. The one that you were your coup, which basically in Hmong means like your actual pair. So, just keeping all those things in mind as a general idea, that's why I'm not an advocate for having your future changed and forced, basically. So I will tell you guys, though, that even if you get all of these messages, a lot of times they're hard to decipher because the voices are very... Honestly, they give you a lot of riddles. They will tell you a lot of riddles, a lot of like fluff that doesn't make sense, but it's all part of the message. And you have to decipher the message and you have to do it fast before it disappears. Because once it disappears, if you forget it, you've forgotten it. It doesn't come back. Same thing with, sometimes they'll say things, but it kind of sounds like they're saying something else. So a really common one for me, if I'm just asking them like a yes or no, like, are they going to get this job? In the distance, I will hear something in Hmong that can mean polar opposites. And the word is jitao, all right? So if you say jitao, that means you don't have it. But then some people will say, oh, jitawa, that means you do have it. Or jitola, like... So imagine hearing that phrase from far away. So then you'll be like, what? And then you think, oh yeah, you're going to get the job. But then all of a sudden you'll hear them say, chitao, which means no, you're not going to get it. And then you're like, what? So are they going to get it or are they not going to get it? And then they'll say again, oh, chitawa. And I'm like, no. So with that, I will stop listening to the voice and I'll look into the vision. Now for the vision, I will see what's happening in the future for them. 6 months, a year from now, what is the building they're going into? What are the people looking like around them? What are they wearing? Like, are they happy? Are they upset? So that it can give me a clearer picture of what I'm trying to look for. Now, same thing with the voices though. Sometimes they will keep going in a circle until you say what they want you to say, because they're trying to get you to get there on your own. So, for example, it was depression. Somebody had asked me about somebody who was close to them. You know, they had just gotten a divorce, and they wanted to know how this individual was going to be doing in the future. And my guides were like saying all of these descriptive words describing somebody who was depressed. So for 5 minutes, I'm telling them all of these things I hear, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, they just keep saying, oh, you know, they're not going to want to go outside. They're going to want to stay by themselves a lot. They're going to be crying. They're not going to be happy, you know, like blah, blah, blah. It's like the same descriptive thing, but they were trying to get me to say depression. So sometimes they'll also do that. And so, and when that was happening for 5 minutes, I was getting frustrated because I thought the message was over, and then I would stop and try to move on. But then they would keep coming back and keep saying all this stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, they're not done yet. But then it's the same message. So it was frustrating me. So I would look into the vision, and the vision was exactly what they were saying: crying, staying at home, not wanting to do anything. But finally, it dawned on me, it's depression. That's what it was. Now, as far as like the visions too, so the visions are not like 100% accurate, because sometimes they're a little extreme. Like, I've mentioned to you guys before, this one time I was driving on the freeway and everything's fine. All of a sudden I see this clear vision of like fire burning all down the freeway, and like all of the cars around me, they all screech to a halt. They turn their cars around and they go running around the other way. Me not listening, I'm still driving like whatever, and then all of a sudden there's a state trooper underneath the bridge who's hiding. So sometimes the visions are very extreme. Like, come on, a road burning up in flames, like like, well, what could that mean? So it's kind of far-fetched sometimes, the visions. And other times, like, I will like be driving home and I'm in traffic, it's stop and go. They will suddenly have this whole story, this whole life play in my head. And I'm literally just sitting in traffic in normal life, in like life. But in my head, like, this crazy elaborate story is happening where I'm knowing characters' lifetimes, I'm knowing their names, I'm knowing what they look like. And then towards the end of that story, as it's finishing, what they were trying to warn me of finally happens. Like, somebody was going to hit my car if I wasn't careful. But they start that story so early on to kind of get me aware, but I don't really know like what's going on, because this story doesn't make any sense. And then finally, as I'm going, and then the story is wrapping up, it's going to be done soon, I'm finally able to escape from this vision. That's when it happens. So and then as soon as that actual moment that was supposed to happen actually passes, then the story is completely gone. Like, it never happened. And I'll even sometimes try to pull up that story again, but then it's just gone. So it's very, very subjective, you guys. Same thing with like intuition, you know, like a lot of times I'll get the gut feeling, but I still won't do it. So me listening to messages, you guys, it's a 50-50. Most of the times I don't listen. I mean, because imagine you're always getting all of these like inflictions. You're going to go crazy if you listen to all of them, if you take every single one of them like super serious. So I tend not to listen to them. And one of the questions was basically, are you at the mercy, you know, like of people, of your guides, like misleading you and all that stuff? You are, especially at the beginning, you know, like, because they're trying to help you. They're trying to give you messages. Because some people, like, if you always dream of rain, it may mean something specific to you, but not to everybody else. So, you know, like online, and I only know this because a close friend of mine always Googles things. Like, whenever they dream of something, they'll Google what it means if you dream of like this. What they don't understand is that is subjective, but not everybody is going to go through the same experience. So, for example, I have a brother who whenever he dreams of rain, it means something completely different from when my sister dreams of rain. So And they always know when that rain moment happens, they know. And it always happens exactly as they dream of it. So don't just rely on Google to decipher your dreams because it is so subjective. Like for me, if I dream of rain, then I know there's a demon or a ghost around. And I know things gonna go down and I need to get out of there. Now, for other people, that may be the same, but it's not gonna be the same for everybody. And especially like like a lot of practicing monk shamans, you're gonna hear this. Even people who are just like spiritually inclined and they have a teacher, they may say this as well to you. So you're always gonna ask, how do you know if it's your guides or if it's you? The answer is always, well, what are your guides telling you? But you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's really them or if I'm just like thinking of this too hard. What people always struggle with, and I've mentioned this in other videos, you guys, you are them. They are you. So remember how I mentioned to you guys about how your guides have personalities, they have emotions, and you need to learn how to control them? They will inflict themselves upon you as well, like preferences. So, for example, I've mentioned I don't like excessive noise. Some people always need like the TV on or they always need something, right? I don't like that. I don't, I have TVs, but I never watch TV, like in general, like after work or something like that. I don't have it playing because I don't like that noise. And so unless I'm specifically watching a show, then I won't like it on at all. And my boyfriend has this thing for always playing music. I'm always like turning it down, like to like almost mute because it's excessive noise and it drives me crazy. So, I also don't judge me when I tell you guys this. I don't like to share food. So, on my other main YouTube channel, I do mukbang and cooking, right? I don't like to share food though. And so some of you guys might be like, damn, she's like greedy as heck. So no. So when I'm eating, my guides don't like me sharing food because if I end up grabbing food out of a bowl and you grab it out of it too, they think it's dirty. So they don't like it. And then I start to feel sick after I eat it. I can share with my boyfriend, especially if I know I'm going to share with somebody. It's like I've mentally prepared myself. I'm sharing this food. But if I had a preference, I wouldn't share food. Because, like, literally, if I go out with my girlfriends and them, and I'm going to eat something, I will tell them, I'm not sharing. If you want to eat this, order it yourself. Because, like when you order appetizers, everybody thinks it's like for sharing. This is part one of my meal. Like, even if I don't finish it, that's mine. So, now the funny thing is, I will order all this food, but when I'm done eating and I'm full, I will give it away for free. Like, it could be to a panhandler. I don't care. Like, I don't want the food anymore because I'm done eating. But if I'm hungry and I'm eating, I don't like to share it. So, you have all of these, and plus the way they ride your emotions and everything, and they do affect your thoughts, you guys. A lot of people, they'll think they're just thinking of something and they don't know why they're thinking of it. It's your guides. Your guides are already giving you the inclination towards it. You wouldn't have made that discovery on your own. So people struggle with when it's their guides and when it's not, because sometimes they're wrong. Point blank. Sometimes they're just wrong. And that's when you need to learn how to decipher when they're telling you the opposite. Because voices, especially, they will tell you the opposite. And then you have to decipher when they tell you the opposite. Why are they telling you the opposite? Because one thing you guys have to remember, and I think a lot of people forget this, your guides, they are not a magic 8-ball. Okay? It's not just going to be on and off whenever you want them. Okay? For the most part, your safety and like really important things, they will always warn you and try to protect you, right? But if it's questions where everybody's just throwing things at you and just randomly asking you, to them, they see it as a disservice, that they're being used. And then that's when they'll start to give you wrong information on purpose because they don't want that person coming to you, or they don't want to give you these answers. So you have to also understand when they're giving you the opposite, especially if they don't want to help somebody, because it's something that they should have properly asked you, not just you're a magic 8-ball, you're going to give them all the answers. So keep that in mind as well. And I guess all of this kind of leads up to another question I was asked, like, do your guides or your helpers live to help you as the individual or themselves? So without you, there wouldn't be them because you guys are one. But people, to explain it better, we have the terms and the names for them, that they're spirits, that they're other entities, but they're always with you. So that's kind of a conundrum, basically, because, people think that they have their own agenda. They do at times when they're trying to force you to do things that are good for you. Like, they will never purposely lead you into harm's way. They won't ever do that because without you, there wouldn't be them. Make sense? Now, are we used for agendas that are not our own? Of course we are. I'm a prime example. So, going into life, nobody goes into life that you're going to want all these weird things. For a long time, I thought I was normal. So all of the things, like my guides and doing my own YouTube channel and all that stuff, especially related to like spiritual stuff, it's them constantly having their agenda. This is how they're going to get me back into the game. Like, this is what they're doing, you guys. You think I don't know? I know. So they have their own agenda. They honestly do. If they don't like somebody in your life, especially if you're dating somebody, you best believe they're going to learn how to break it up. Like, they are you. And people always forget that. They differentiate it. They are you. You are them. And that's what comes, your preferences, your weird quirks, all that stuff. It happens. It's an agenda. So that is it. And then another question was, how do we know that being chosen is actually like a good thing? Like, it's kind of patronizing. Why do you think I live the way I do? You guys know I'm a person who doesn't like being told what to do. I don't like being forced into situations. But they are me. Everything leads up back to the same story. Like, honestly, I feel like I've been running my whole life from this. But at the end of the day, I'm running, and I am exhausted. And then all of a sudden I look and they were right with me the entire time. I never outran them. I thought I did. I thought I was by trying to ignore everything, trying to push everything away. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, which they don't allow. So Hmong shamans, they're not actually allowed to do drugs and they're not allowed to drink alcohol. So some ethnic groups, they have shamans, but they actually take drugs. But we are not allowed to. Well, especially for me, I'm not allowed to. I have to bargain a deal to drink, you guys. Like, y'all have no idea. Okay, so like, it's like I was running this whole time and I thought I was free. But they were there the entire time. So, being chosen is not a good thing. But I know for like a lot of people, finding their spiritual connection, it's something that's important to them internally. They can't really pinpoint why, but a lot of people, they feel like they're lost souls. They're just wandering. And having your spiritual connection, even if it's not tied to a religious belief, but that you can communicate to something not human, and that you can prove it's real and that you have gone through it. So all of that, it's about your spiritual connection and enlightenment, and that's what a lot of humans look for. So sometimes they mask it in a religious belief. And then there are those who are what you would call awoken, where they don't want it tied to a religious belief. And that's perfectly fine. Finding a spiritual connection, it doesn't always have to tie to a religion. If you find your spiritual connection and you make that connection and you find that it leads you to a religion, that's fine as well. But you are basically somebody who has to be brought there by yourself, not told by somebody. And that's the story of my life. So after all of this was said and done, I hope you guys can kind of understand it better, like with communication and everything. It's all subjective on the individual. I sugarcoat things a lot. It's pretty seldom I actually tell you point blank what is being said, because sometimes it's something really embarrassing for the other individual, and I could feel your embarrassment that you're afraid I'm going to see this, so I don't mention it. I don't say it. Sex related stuff, yeah, I know all of it. So just throwing it out there. And it's funny because I was asked about this, and just so you guys know, some people get really weirded out that they could be in the middle of having sex or masturbating and a spirit is there watching them. To spirits, it's completely normal. It's like you going to poo. You don't think there aren't ghosts there watching you? There are. But to them, it's so normal. It's completely normal. Like, your worst moments that's super embarrassing you would die of, they've seen it, okay? So just don't be embarrassed about it. Just know point blank. Like, even if I see it and I know it, the only time I don't like it is if it's like uncles and aunties or like grandparents. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, that's creepy to me as an individual. But to your guides and your helpers, that's completely natural. It's completely normal to them. So they don't see a problem with it. So, there have been people who have been asking me about like dating when you're a shaman. Is it better to wait to date? Like not raise your shrine until after you're dating somebody. So I'm going to tell you guys my story in my next video about my life. This is when I stopped being a shaman. I put my shrine down and then I started dating with all of my abilities still. It was a hot mess, you guys. There are, just let you guys know a little tidbit, there's a ton of men out there who hate me right now. Like, they just hate me, you guys. They still stalk me to this day, and it's been years. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I ruined a lot of people. I'm so sorry. I never meant to. And they were well aware of that. I've done my apologizing, but it just gets to the point where they're just trying to make you feel bad, which wasn't possible for me. So we'll talk about that in my next video. Thanks for watching, you guys.